If you ask any PlayStation player, any Sony fan, any pony, who makes the best games, they would always say Sony. Yes, these guys are convinced that Sony studios make the best kind of games. And you will hear that all through the years. Now, it's very ironic because when I look at what the actual stats and the actual evidence say, I see time and time again, we are talking about month after month after month. The most played games on a PlayStation platform are not the exclusives, are not the games that they say is made by a PlayStation studio. They are multiplats. Yes, when you look at the type of games that the majority of the PlayStation community consumes, are multiplats. Fortnite. I mean, they play more Microsoft games than PlayStation games. And I ask myself why. At this point, these ponies are telling themselves more lies than this guy.
I'll be 33 on Friday. The biggest lesson that I've learned in my 32 years of life is
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
that it's not about what happened
33 and what? Dog years? Rat? Wait, what are you, a flamingo? What?
So yes, let's have this discussion because I think this is a discussion that needs to be investigated and we need to get an answer to this. So while I'll be asking the questions that no PlayStation channel would ask, PlayStation guys are still talking about Black Myth Wukong and the Series S.
But you guys just saw the whole situation that unfolded with Black Myth Wukong, right? And it's like Sony could Sony could shut a lot of people up very, very swiftly and very easily. But they're not. And because of their silence, because of their refusal to acknowledge what's being said and what's going on, it allows it to fester. You know, where it's like, it is abundantly clear. It has been made abundantly clear. If you have any sense whatsoever, if you have any common sense and you know anything about the video game industry, if you know an inkling about the video game industry, you know there is no exclusivity deal for Black Myth Wukong with Sony.
Well, MBG, I know a little about the gaming industry, and what I do know is that PlayStation are custom money hatting games. For example, Stellar Blade. When Stellar Blade was known as Project Eve, that game was announced for the Xbox platform in 2019, before Sony money hatted the game and made it exclusive to the PlayStation platform. You don't believe me? Look at this. So you see how that is, MBG? You see that we know a little about the gaming industry, and the same could be said for Black Myth Wukong. When that game just came out and it was being revealed to us, there was an Xbox logo, and then all of a sudden the Xbox logo disappeared like nothing was there. That is a sure indication that money did pass, because guess what? If I am optimizing a game and it's still coming to the platform, there is no need for me to remove the branding of another platform. The reason why I would remove a platform is if one platform decided to say, here what, take that logo off and let everyone think that this game is exclusive for the PlayStation 5. And I believe we have strong evidence to show it, that yes, Sony did pass some money to get that game exclusive. That's just what the evidence is showing.
Good morning, Lono. I was wondering what your thoughts are on Rockstar making comments about GTA 6 having no issues running on the Series S. Well, Rockstar didn't make the comment. Take-Two's CEO didn't say there'll be no issues. He said they had no concerns.
Oh, it's the clown again. Oh, why is it always the clown? I mean, I knew it was gonna be the clown. We all knew it was gonna be the clown sooner or later.
About the Series S, which, listen, I mean, that's just the CEO being a CEO. I wouldn't go to the bank with that. I wouldn't. I mean, we've seen a pattern. I mean, a pattern of games coming out and having issues with maintaining good performance, frames per second, good resolution, and all of that on the Series S, right? I would not take his comment as like oh yeah, it's going to run perfectly fine. I would never expect the CEO of a publisher to be like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to run into some issues over there. He's trying to build confidence in the game. He's trying to he's trying to build confidence in the product. That would not bode confidence.
And the clown show continues with Jimmy Neutron. Yes, he is trying to convince his audience that the Series S is the cause of world hunger. The Series S is responsible for all the wars that are happening right now. Blame the Series S. That is the reason for all these woes that we are experiencing in life. Today, however, let's have that discussion. Let's discuss, why are these ponies not playing their games? Why are they playing more Xbox games than they are playing PlayStation games? Why are the PlayStation first party sales so low for the big install base that these guys have? I mean, we'll have that discussion. So you know what? Let's get it.
This is a sickness!
Let's get it. So guys, we are on the road to 4,000 subscribers. So if this type of content interests you, please consider hitting the like button. We get the best Xbox content. As you could see, we give you Xbox news. We have some discussions here and there about, the gaming industry. We give you some Nintendo news. And of course, we are the ones who produce, we are the ones who manufacture and also bag Sony Pony Salt. So if this type of content interests you, please consider subscribing today. Now let's get back to the video. So although Sony would have mastered this single player narrative driven style game, and the persons who would have enjoyed that style of game, that type of game is not the games that gamers continue playing. It's what we call the one and dones, and Sony, quite frankly, they are fed up of the one and done. You see, one thing, you can say what you want about Microsoft, but Microsoft continue to produce games that has longevity. For years, persons have been playing Halo multiplayer, whether it be Halo 1, 2, 3, Halo Reach, Halo Infinite, Minecraft, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, and now Call of Duty. All these are games that persons continue playing years after their release. Sony don't have that. Whatever is the case, these games continue to satisfy their fans long after they have been released. And you can objectively say that Sony does not have games like that. Sony does not have a game where after it released 3 months in the past, or whether it be a year ago, persons don't continue playing PlayStation games. And as I showed in the beginning of this video, that is not my opinion, that is just the facts. You constantly look at the games that are playing every week or every month, and there is not even one PlayStation produced game there. Not one game made by a PlayStation studio is on the top list of games being played by Sony persons who own a PlayStation 5 platform. And that is something that Sony is addressing, or saying that they are not going to focus on how many sales they made on any particular game, but they want to focus now on the retention of the players? Are these players staying playing our games? And if it is you don't believe me, look at this.
PlayStation wants to focus more on platform playtime than software sales. It's been explained by Sony General Manager Satohiko Hayakawa that PlayStation has become much more concerned about platform playtime over the past couple of console generations, rather than software sales. It's an odd time for the big boys of the games industry at the moment, with both PlayStation and Xbox facing various different challenges to keep their fans happy, their consoles relevant, and their games selling well. It feels like a big change is on the horizon, whether that be due to the ballooning costs of video game development, Xbox looking increasingly likely to ditch its hardware altogether, or Square Enix essentially scrapping the idea of console-exclusive releases due to poor sales. Things have changed dramatically over the past decade, whether it be good or bad, and PlayStation is no exception when it comes to companies looking to do business differently. In a recent call with investors thanks WCCF Tech, Sony General Manager Satohiko Hayakawa explained that PlayStation has been slowly changing its business model since the release of the PS4, as the company focuses more on platform playtime over software sales as a metric of success. After a transition period during the PS4 generation, the PS5 model has shifted to where playtime on platform has increased due to expansion of the user community beyond console generations. It's not all that surprising that PlayStation would rather you play its games more than buy them all, especially when you look at the company's recent strategies in game development. We know that there are a quite frankly absurd number of service games headed to the platform in the future, and it's clear that PlayStation would rather people get extremely deep into one or two titles than paddle around in a dozen. It just makes more money. We also know that games are taking longer and longer to make these days, so we're going to start seeing fewer big releases year after year from the likes of PlayStation and Xbox. If you're releasing fewer games, it makes sense for sheer numbers to matter less in the grand scheme, and PlayStation's rather barren lineup of big first-party titles for 2024 and the future attests to that. PlayStation could spend a decade creating 4 or 5 heavy hitters, or it could make a few service games that get people on board and see a constant flow of cash while it works on fewer God of Wars or Horizon Forbidden Wests. With that in mind, it makes sense for the company to value playtime more than sales. Still, at least Returnal exists, and for that we should be grateful.
So there you have it. Although this article seemed to be written somewhat by a pony, it does help us to see that Sony don't have any sort of first-party game that persons continue to play. Now, recently they would have made a partnership there with Arrowhead. That is how they had the Helldivers 2, and they are still reaping the success of Helldivers 2, which we know is not really the PlayStation community playing Helldivers 2, but it's more the PC crowd. But when it is you look at what Microsoft has, it's very clear that Microsoft is leading when it comes to games, persons returning to those games, and Sony don't have that. All the so-called big AAA games that these guys have, persons are not playing them currently. The God of War, the Spider-Mans, the Astrobot, I mean the Foam Stars, the Concord, all of these games are not being played by a PlayStation community. Sony is telling these ponies,
please come home. I got beans and bologna.
and that is what persons are not talking about. Persons are not saying that Microsoft right now is leading the charts when it comes to multiplayer games, games as a service, persons coming back to games. And that is something that Microsoft will continue to dominate as long as they keep up their strategy. They would have changed and pivot from only releasing games solely on their platforms. Now they are widening the player base by releasing their games on other platforms, therefore offsetting whatever price these games cost to make. But still giving their consumers the best experience by putting it on Game Pass. So it's very clear. Although the Sony guys are boasting on console sales, boasting about their games, no one is playing them. It's dead, it's barren, it's a desert. But again, hopefully this video educate these ponies and jabronis so that they too could see that Microsoft strategy is what Sony is trying to do currently. So let me hear what you thought about this video. Let me hear what you thought about this discussion in the comment sections below. So don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.